Greetings everyone and welcome to this session of your gastrointestinal system course. We're going to be moving on to the next part of the GIT, which is the duodenum. That's part of the GIT that comes directly after the stomach. If you haven't already seen that video, please make sure you go watch it before you continue with this one. And with that, let's go ahead and get started with just a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at this lecture. We're going to be looking at the location and general features of the duodenum, its structure and important relations, and then we're just going to quickly touch on the blood supply and venous return. Okay, so like I said, the duodenum is the part of the GIT that comes directly after the stomach. It curves in a C shape around the head of the pancreas, so it comes in close contact with the head of the pancreas, and it is generally 25 centimeters in length. In terms of its location, the duodenum you can, like I said earlier, you can think of it in either of the two divisions of the abdomen. If we take it as quadrants, the duodenum is found in the right upper quadrant. And if we take it as the 9 abdominal regions, the duodenum is divided between the epigastrium and the umbilical region. So it's found in those two. Generally, the duodenum is a retroperitoneal organ, meaning that only its anterior surface is covered with peritoneum. However, the first inch of the duodenum that's directly after the stomach is covered in peritoneum, and then the rest of it just kind of becomes retroperitoneal. For purposes of description and just kind of because of the way that it's located in the abdomen, sorry, the duodenum is divided into 4 segments. So what we're looking at here is a picture of the duodenum as it is found in the abdomen. You can see how it has a C-shaped and how it comes in close contact with the head of the pancreas. This cut structure here, this is the pylorus of the stomach, and you can see the sphincter that separates between the stomach and the duodenum. So you've got this part of the duodenum first that kind of just slants upwards. This is referred to as the first part of the duodenum. So generally they're just named according to their number in terms of the sequence. They're also named according to the direction in which they pass. So you've got the next part, which kind of just passes vertically. Okay, and this is going to be the second part of the duodenum. And then after that, it kind of, excuse me, I am having some sinus trouble these days, don't. So the next part kind of passes horizontally. This part is usually referred to as the third part of the duodenum, and sometimes you will find it called the transverse part. And then finally, you've got the last part here that kind of passes upwards. This is called the ascending part of the duodenum, or it's also referred to as the fourth part. So, in terms of relations and the organs that come in close contact with the duodenum, let's just look at it in this picture here. Okay, so first and foremost, we've already mentioned how the head of the pancreas comes in close contact with the curve of the duodenum, and you can see that it's just kind of lodged in that curve right there. Okay, if we take the first part and look behind it, you can see how we've got the common bile duct, and we've also got the portal vein found behind the first part. And another vessel that is found in relation to the first part and passes kind of behind the duodenum, but we can't actually see it here, is the gastroduodenal artery, which we mentioned in the anatomy of the stomach lecture. Okay, moving on to the second part, you can see behind it here, you've got the kidney, and it's covered, so it won't show here, but you've got the ureter passing out of the medial side of the kidney. So behind the second part is related to the kidney and the ureter, and obviously we mean the one on the right side. Okay. Another organ that it's related to is this cut organ here, which is part of the large intestine that just kind of passes across the abdomen. This is the transverse colon. Okay, and then again, it's been removed, but in this region here, you should also have the liver. So the duodenum also comes in contact with the liver as well. Okay, if we take the fourth part, and this can also apply to the second part as well, but you can see posteriorly it's related to the inferior vena cava. Okay, oh, sorry, not the fourth part, the third part, the third and fourth. Okay, they are related to the blood vessels here. You've got the inferior vena cava behind the third part. It's also kind of slightly passing behind the second and first parts as well. You've also got the abdominal aorta related to the third and fourth parts. The superior mesenteric vessels, okay, also pass in front here. Okay, so these are just the major organs and structures that come in relation with the duodenum. Okay, another important thing that you need to know about the duodenum are the orifices or the openings that are found within it. Now, looking at this picture, again, this is just showing you the curve of the duodenum. You've got the pancreas lodged in the curve, but what they've done is they've removed the anterior wall of the duodenum, so you're kind of looking at the internal structure. And if we look at the second part here, this is the part that I want you to focus on, you can see that there are two openings. You've got one down here and then another one up there. Okay, now this lower one, the one at the bottom, okay, this is the larger opening, so it's bigger than this one up here. Okay, and it's going to have two structures or two tubes that open into this region here. First of all, you've got the common bile duct passing down here. Okay, and then from the pancreas, you've got the main pancreatic duct carrying the pancreatic secretions. And you can see how they both kind of meet here in this opening in the second part of the duodenum. And then when you guys look at it, you're going to see that there is an elevation in the wall of the duodenum where these two tubes are found, and this elevation is called the duodenal papilla. So the duodenal papilla is just basically the elevation where you find the opening for the two tubes, which are the common bile duct and the main pancreatic duct. Okay, and sometimes it's going to be referred to as the major duodenal papilla. Okay, because this opening up here, even though it's smaller, okay, it's still there and is referred to as the minor duodenal papilla. And what we have opening here is a small duct from the pancreas called the accessory pancreatic duct. And then that opens into the minor duodenal papilla, or the one that's just above the major one. Both of them open into the second part along the posteromedial wall. So there are two orifices or two openings that are found along the posterior posteromedial wall of the second part of the duodenum. You have the opening for the common bile duct and main pancreatic duct, and these two, like I said, open into the major duodenal papilla. And one of the things to remember is that there is a sphincter in this papilla that will therefore control the emptying of the common bile duct and main pancreatic duct into the duodenum, and this sphincter is called the sphincter of Oddi. The opening, or the second opening, is for the accessory pancreatic duct, and like I showed you, it's found above the main or major duodenal papilla. That one's called the minor duodenal papilla. Okay? And another thing to remember is that embryologically, the GIT is divided into foregut, midgut, and hindgut, and each of these subdivisions has a specific cutoff points. So they have a beginning and they have an end, and each of these subdivisions of the GIT has a specific blood supply. So one of the let's just call them demarcating points that separates the foregut and the midgut is the major duodenal papilla. It represents the junction between these two regions of the GIT. So basically where you find the major duodenal papilla, that is the end of the foregut, so it's where the foregut terminates. and it is where the midgut begins. So anything before the major duodenal papilla, or just where it is found, that's the end of the foregut. And then anything after that is the midgut, and it will continue onwards. Okay? Remember that the foregut, or the region of the foregut, is supplied by branches of the celiac trunk, while the midgut is supplied by branches of the superior mesenteric artery. So, next we're just going to look at another demarcating point, which is where the end of the duodenum is, the fourth part. Remember that the duodenum is going to continue into the jejunum and the ileum and so forth, so it's going to continue into the small intestine. And unlike the region between the stomach and the duodenum, there's no sphincter, there's no like muscular demarcation or anything that can show you like just kind of marks where the end of the duodenum is. So if you are just kind of looking at the intestine and kind of trying to figure out where the end of the duodenum is and then where the jejunum starts, okay, so the junction between the two, this is determined by the presence of something called the suspensory ligament of Treitz. It's also referred to as the suspensory ligament of the duodenum. And this is a fold of peritoneum that connects the junction between the duodenum and the jejunum. It connects it to the right cross of the diaphragm. So if you're looking at it here, okay, this is the duodenum here, all right, and then the part that is found in green, attached between the duodenum and the right cross of the diaphragm, okay, this is where the duodenum ends and the jejunum begins. Okay, and the last thing we're going to look at is just really quickly the blood supply of the duodenum. Now remember that the second part of the duodenum, where the major duodenal papilla is found, okay, is the junction between the foregut and the midgut. So that means that part of the duodenum is technically part of the foregut and the rest of it is part of the midgut. And accordingly, you're going to have this superior pancreaticoduodenal artery, which is a branch of the gastroduodenal artery supplying the upper part of the duodenum. And remember, the gastroduodenal artery comes from the hepatic artery, which comes from the celiac trunk. The rest of the duodenum is going to be supplied by the inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery, and that originates as the first branch of the superior mesenteric artery. So that basically supplies the part of the duodenum that is part of the midgut. Okay? These two arteries lie in the curve between the duodenum and the head of the pancreas, and therefore they end up supplying both of these structures. So they would supply the duodenum and the pancreas as well, which you can kind of guess from their name. Okay, so that sums up the anatomy of the duodenum. I hope that session was useful for you. And as always, I will be available for any questions if you have any. And all the best. Good luck with all your studying and work. And I will see you guys next lecture.